Thanks for joining. This is your host, Jennifer Weaver, and this is AV Shoots and Ladders. And I am so excited to talk with my guest today. I'm not going to introduce him because I'll not hit everything that we need to hit. So, Brandon, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little about who you are, what you do, and how you got in AV.
Thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me too. It's an interesting time. Lots going on in AV. Lots of disruption and various different things that you're hearing out in the industry. But it's been an interesting ride. It's been a fun one over the years. I've been in Pro AV for about 15 years now. I started in digital signage and kind of worked my way through some manufacturers into systems integration, and have been working doing systems integration and design AV consulting now for a number of years, and am newly unemployed. So it's kind of an ironic time. I thought, Jennifer, once you started this podcast, that we're both actively seeking new work, which is great. It's an exciting time for that, and so this is a great opportunity to be able to, I think, talk a little bit about kind of that experience that we've both been having and what we're seeing and what we're doing and how we can maybe help others who are also looking for some new employment.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, as people probably have seen if they're looking at us on LinkedIn, they see the little open to work potentially, or you've posted that you're looking, and there's so many people that are out there that are looking, and it's how do you stand out? It's how do you get past? Because going through the experience I'm going through right now, and hopefully at some point that comes to an end, but it's, you look at a job application on a manufacturer's website. Did you update your resume? Did you not update your resume? So regardless of how you and I got here, that doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is we're here today.
It's where we're going.
Right. Where are we going? What's this next chapter going to be? So, I've always heard update your resume not when you have to, do it throughout. So talk to me about, that resume process for you. Have you done it? Are you using your resume? Like what's going on for you?
That's a great question, and it ironically, I've since I've been now unemployed for 2 weeks, I've received a couple of job offers, and I expect
Awesome.
a few more to come. It's an interesting scenario, but I think it's because I've been around a while and people know what they're getting with me, right? And they know me and they trust me to a lot of, to a certain extent, I guess. But for me, I haven't even sent one resume yet, and I kind of think of it as like the great disruption,
Right. Right.
For many years, we've always, when you're looking for a new job and you're interviewing, the first thing people say is, well, send me your resume, right? And to me, a resume is a piece of paper that is intended to be one, maybe 2 pages, and
Right.
that's supposed to exemplify who you are as a person and be able to build some sort of predetermined value around what you're capable of doing, what your
Right.
skill set is, and what maybe your overarching value is. To me, I find that to be rather impersonal. And I just think that if you're someone who's been in this business for a long time, it's really about being a human now. It's using your network, and it's using LinkedIn, and it's using all these different social channels, setting up sneaker meetings and various different things that we do so well. But be social, be present, be yourself, and be human, because there is so much to that is so much better, I think, than any piece of paper that you could ever hand someone.
Well, and that's, like you've been in the industry 15 years. I've been in this industry 18 years. Same thing as you, different gamut, right? Reseller, manufacturer, distributor. At one point in my career, I was a teacher. That's how I got here. So, like you said, how do you put all of that on 1 or 2 pages? I can't. So, how do you find the important things to put on a resume and to get past the bots? So I think your point of utilizing your network and being present is so important. So let me ask you this question then. Are you a avid LinkedIn poster, or are you a now that I need something, I'm gonna post, or you know, the periodic, like you're there and you're present, or do we not, hear anything from you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I was an early adopter of LinkedIn when I first started in sales in the early 2000s. One of my jobs was to utilize LinkedIn to research and find different opportunities, different leads, different jobs, whatever it might be, and then leverage that and turn that into
Right,
actionable results, right? And so if you think about the power of social selling, but also the power of LinkedIn as a recruiting tool, but really being able to just utilize it as your own personal brand.
yeah,
And that's what people need to understand today. And it's easier said, I think, and picked up on for the younger generation. I'm 41 years old. I consider I'm still a millennial, but a zennial,
yeah,
right? So I'm kind of on the cusp of like, do I understand this kind of stuff or am I just too old for it, right?
right,
And so for me, I think having a personal brand, a personal identity that I've been able to build through the companies that I've worked for has been extremely helpful in establishing a reputation. People know who I am. They like to see the work that we're doing, the pretty pictures, the fun jobs, the excitement, the glamour of it all in this kind of show me
yeah,
business of experiential technology that we work in. So it's very much I think about, especially if you're a younger person, maybe just trying to break into the business, if you're looking to be an AV or you're maybe switching career roles to be in AV. I think it's important to create a brand identity if you're not somebody who's already really well known and established in the industry, because it will help you open
right,
up doors. People will recognize you for the human centric approach and who you are and how you can translate that brand identity that you have to the company that you're looking to maybe work for. So I find that to be a very interesting way of doing things, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be in a different age bracket than that and still adopt to it. It's just the earlier
right.
adopters seem to be the younger generation, and I think it's going to be huge for people coming into this business.
Oh yeah, well, when I got to know Chris Neto, and we were talking about personal brand, right? So
Yep,
people that know
prime
me,
example.
yeah,
Mhm.
people that know me for my sneakers, and the way
Yep.
that started was a total fluke, and I was not a social media person. I did Facebook a little bit, but because I dealt with higher education, and they're all on Twitter or X or whatever we want to call that today.
Latest flavor. Yeah.
Exactly. He's like, Jen, you have to be on there. So I had to learn, right? I had to learn it. And I get it now. Still a little bit, hard for me to remember, oh, you need to kind of be present and post on there and those type of things. So, that's my personal brand. So for somebody that doesn't know you, or for somebody that's listening and they're like, I'm trying to check out what this whole new, AV Shoots and Ladders podcast is about, and who are these people? What is your kind of personal brand? What have you established to be your personal brand that you want people to know?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I think, my personal brand has always been because I've been working with technology that is a very wow, show me sort of thing. It's less about just kind of standard spaces and more about custom bespoke spaces with really big video walls and these interactives and projection mapping and things of that nature. I think the only way to really showcase kind of this incredible work that you do
Hmm.
is to be able to kind of mold that into this personal
Right,
brand that you have while working for a company. Now, when you leave that company and you're searching for a new job, it creates that level of credibility for your future employers, right? The people who are finding jobs, I think, quicker
hmm,
nowadays are the ones who can really point back to all of the great work that they've done over the years. And it's like, hey, let me go show you this. Or
right,
if you're talking to a hiring manager, um, you know, invite them, take them to go see something that you've done, show them your work, be present, show them what you've done and how you've done it, and talk to them about that. So it's about creating, I just think, these personal connections with people, and it's less about just hitting send on a resume.
Yeah.
Like LinkedIn does have that function still, but to me, it's more about use your network, befriend these people, be human, be personable, be funny, have a sense of humor, like, be real with them, right? And that's what people will appreciate. And if you can do that and establish that along with a great track record
Yeah.
of success, if it's sales hitting quotas, if it's just project delivery or operations, project management, all these incredible projects, you'll find that your job search and job hunt is quite easier.
Do you use LinkedIn then kind of like your quote unquote portfolio? I mean, because when you think about people trying to look for a job, right? If you're a teacher, when I was a teacher, right, I had to have lesson plans. I had to give examples of plans. I think, marketing and content creators are going to have like a portfolio. In AV, we probably should have that. But how do you have a portfolio? Because usually your company is going to do a case study. But if you're not doing the case study and you've got the nitty gritty of what happened and you've got some really cool photos, can you are you using LinkedIn as like your portfolio for these companies that are reaching out saying, hey, scroll back, 5 or 6 months and take a look at this?
Certainly, it certainly can be. I think LinkedIn is a good social platform for the business side of things, right? I think recently I've seen a lot of people who are kind of crossing that line, right? And I'm very much of the thinking like LinkedIn is not Facebook and
Right.
it's not Twitter. Although you should have, I do believe, a consistent brand identity across all of those things, and you can certainly share, relevant content for your company or your portfolio on a social platform like a LinkedIn or a Twitter or Facebook for that matter. And but it it really just it speaks to, I think, the fact that yes, it's a great platform for being able to showcase all of that really great work that you do, and it's an easy place to point to somebody. Again, it's you don't have to send them the resume. You could have the call with them, and during the interview, I like the idea of kind of disrupting that
Yep.
just typical like 45-minute like robotic thing. It's not about that. Tell some stories, tell some exciting stuff. Let me take you over to my portfolio, which happens to be on my LinkedIn page, and let me talk to you about the job that we did at Newark Airport
Right.
or whatever it may be, right? And so to me, I think that's a far better way to make a connection with someone, so that then as you're going through that interview process, they're just wanting more because you're just telling them all of these great stories, which lead to all of these great capabilities and all of this knowledge and great things that you have to offer their company.
So, in your interviews that you've gone through, like probably potentially some of the ones I've gone through, are you, even though these companies you haven't applied, right? They're reaching out or you're reaching out to them, are you getting the standard interview questions? Meaning, are they asking you, tell me about your biggest failure, or tell me about where something went wrong. They're not asking about accomplishments anymore. They're asking about failures, and they're asking, how did you um manage a bad situation? Are they asking you these questions, or is it just more conversational with you?
It's very conversational, and I think a lot of that comes from the fact that people have been recommending me. Again, I'm a pretty established person, I feel like, within the industry, 15 years, right? And there's a lot of people who know me, so I think it's making it easier for people to just reach out on my behalf and say, hey, Mr. So and so, or Mrs. CEO at whatever company, I've got this really great business development and sales guy, you got to talk to him, right? And like, so there's that. So it's almost like a warm intro, right, to them, and it just feels to me, all of them have been very natural, and I've done a lot of them, but they all feel very natural. And I think it's also on me to take that approach to be very real with them, right? And I like the idea of being confident. I like the idea of speaking, well, to all of your skills and what you could bring to the table. I think it's less and less about the robotic stuff, but it's also like if you're just hitting send on resumes on LinkedIn, you can probably expect more of the robotic stuff, right? And so that's why I'm suggesting, and you're probably seeing it too, Jennifer, right? As you're looking for your job, your new adventure, you know, it's less about just kind of the monotony of like all these different interview processes and so much structure, and more about what can you bring to the table as an individual or as a human, right? And why would that be a good fit for us culturally?
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to see if you were getting those questions, because now that that it says open to work or applying for jobs, my LinkedIn feed, the bots have picked it up, right? So I'm getting all of those people that say how to prepare for an interview, and if you want the C-level job, be prepared with these questions, and they're all pretty much the same. And I'm looking over these and I'm thinking, this is amazing for the newbie, in my opinion. Somebody out of college, whether you're getting into the AV industry or not, just applying for those first couple jobs and doing those interviews, that's great. But like you said, you've got so much experience in an area that that person you're talking to may not have any experience in that area. So they're going to try and ask certain questions, but they're not going to get who you are as a person.
That's why and I'm of the belief that it's less about just doing meetings with recruiters and headhunters and people like that. I mean, yes, you may have to do that out of necessity at some point if that's part of a more formal process that one of these companies has, but I don't think a lot of them do. I think honestly, the best advice I can give to somebody, whether you're a seasoned vet or a seasoned knowledge based expert, or someone who's just known in the industry, or if you're just trying to break into it, do your research. Think about what it is that's going to make you happy. I recently had a friend, Morgan, tell me to write down the top 10 things that are going to make me happy and try to then apply that to the different companies that I'm looking at and so forth. And that really resonated with me. It really helped open my eyes. And I'll be honest, I was back and forth on a few of these, and it's starting to like really help me provide clarity as to like, okay, here's the one where I'm really interested. Here's like the direction that I'm going. And something as simple as that, as well as like just pros and cons, right? Just write the stuff down. Believe it or not, it's going to make you feel better. It's going to make you really think through the nitty gritty. It's like, do I want to be a part of something like this if they don't have X, or if I don't get Y from them, is that going to be something that I can live with? And I think it's a great way to just get all that stuff down. And then once you do that and you figure out where it is that you want to go, if you want to be on the manufacturing side or do you want to be on the integration side, whatever that is, call the hiring manager, right? Pick up the phone. We're salespeople, we're business development people. Even if you're not in that, right, and you're in some sort of other function, the old fashioned phone call to the person who's going to hire you at the end of the day is going to go a really long way. And I had a CEO that I called the other day that I just called out of the blue. I said, here's what, transpired. I'm no longer with my previous employer. And they said, wow, I'm totally shocked, but I'm even happier that you just picked up the phone and called me. We have to talk about this. This is important, right? And I need to figure out how we can find a way to make this work. So without doing that, I feel like it's just a missed opportunity.
And it's so funny that you say that that's how I got into the AV industry. 18 years ago when I relocated to South Florida, I was a teacher. I decided I didn't want to teach. I knew I wanted to sell Smart. I knew that's what I wanted to do. Smart didn't have a position. So I found a company and I did the same thing. I called the general manager of that office. This is who I am. This is what I know. This is what I don't know. I went in for the interview. That launched my career because I wasn't afraid, right? To pick up the phone. And regardless whether you're looking for a job or not, once you get into whatever position, don't hide behind the computer. I see so many, and I hate to say it, but I also think it's this younger generation that they're so used to being on their phone that they don't want to pick up, like being on their phone in a way of texting and emailing and all of that. They don't know how to have a conversation. So much gets resolved when you just pick up the phone. So kudos to you for taking the chance and just picking up the phone and calling somebody that you want to work for, not a company that wants you, but the company you want to go work for potentially. That's awesome.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just about exuberating confidence, I feel like. That's what people want to see, but they also just want someone who's a human, right? I mean, COVID, as lousy as it was, and it did so many, negative things to so many people and businesses and caused so many problems and heartache, it really opened up our eyes to the fact that things have changed. The way we do business has changed. The way that people interact with people through these video chats and so forth, and webinars and all this kind of cool stuff, like this great technology, it doesn't take away from the fact that there is still a human element. And if anything, it kind of exemplifies that. You can see my background, like I like Star Wars. Cool. Like, let's talk about that. You don't know how many people that it just kind of breaks the ice for, right? They're like, oh, let me show you mine. And, it's just, it immediately creates this human interaction that is less about this structured, okay, so tell me what you've done lately. And like, what's your biggest, issue that you've solved or whatever. So I feel like maybe I'm old school and I haven't applied for jobs or looked for jobs in a long time, but I've yet to see that out there other than, the typical question like, well, what questions do you have for me? Which I think is always very valid.
Yes, right. Yeah. And I'm like you, like I very rarely will I ever blur out my background because, I've got Prince back there and I want that conversation. I want people to see that and to understand that. And so it is. COVID allowed us to see everybody's kids, see everybody's animals. It's okay. Like Amazon delivery, DoorDash delivery, something, right? Got delivered and everybody's okay, kind of with that now. So let me go back and ask a question because I think it might be kind of important for people that are either watching or listening. So your friend that told you to write down the top 10 things, do you mind sharing some of those? Like what are they based on potentially who you're going to talk to, or are they just general for you? I mean, you don't have to give us all 10 if you don't want to, but I think a couple would be amazing.
So it's the top 10 things that will make me happy, and in no particular order, although number one for me is well compensated, right? I'm a money driven guy. I'm in sales. Fine. Chalk it up to that. A valued employee. I've realized recently that, you know, my value, or I thought I was being valued, really wasn't the case. And so I just encourage people to look outside of just what's under your nose. Like, it's nice to have a job, but there are people out there who will value you and see your value for what it's actually worth, and then pay you accordingly or put you in a position to make you successful and allow you to grow. So I think that's, a good one. Health insurance. I have 3 little kids. Gotta have it. Gotta be good health insurance. Hopefully kicks off day one. Don't have to wait 3 months.
Right.
Can't wait that long.
No. So for anybody who wants to know, what are we looking for as employees when we get hired, regardless of whatever that waiting period is? No, health insurance, day one, very important. Or maybe day two. Fill out the paperwork, get it in day two. Got it.
Yes, as long as I submit it day one, I'm okay with day two.
Right.
But no further beyond that. The next one would be work-life balance. I know we've talked about that
Yeah.
to great lengths, and I get caught up in it. I'm guilty of overworking. I've been telling people I work a couple hours Saturday morning, a couple hours Sunday morning. But, with all these meetings and Zoom calls and things, it's like, okay, sometimes you just need to do that out of necessity, right?
Yeah.
And my father once said to me, you'll get out of what you put into it, right? And so, like, if you put in the time, you will reap the results of that. And
Right.
like, to me, it's okay to work for a couple hours on Saturday and Sunday morning. I'm all right with that. It's quiet. I can do my proposals. I can do things. And you know what? I'm okay with it.
But you're doing it though because you want to do it, not because the company is requiring
That's
you
right.
to do it.
Right. The
That's
company's not doing it.
yeah.
Right. Asking me to do it. Right. And some people look at that and frown on it and give me these weird eyes and like, well, why not, why not spend the time with your family? It's like, no, I spend the time with my family. I do all that. But to me, like a couple hours each morning when everyone's just kind of waking up or whatever, it's not the end of the world.
And
So
we have no idea what those hours are. We don't, it doesn't matter. I mean, everybody in your house could still be sleeping and
yeah,
so, right. It's
that's
your
exactly
time.
right.
Yeah.
It's right. It works. um, The next one would be financially stable. I think it's important nowadays, right, to have companies that at the end of the day they're going to pay you. They're
Yep.
going to pay you your salary and your commissions and so forth on time, and that they're just cash flush, right? I think it's important that they have a good credit standing, good credit history. They're paying vendors and manufacturers and things on time. I think that's just very important. So it's something that I would encourage everyone that's listening to just make sure that you're doing your due
Yeah.
diligence. Look into the financial aspect of it a little bit, just to make sure that what you're stepping into, you're going to get this job and then you're going to be there a while and you're not
Right.
having to do this again in another year. Um, for me, it's very much the number six was focus on experiential technology. If anybody knows me, I don't really do conference rooms as much.
No.
So I'm more of a like, show me, here's experiential, immersive, creative, whatever you want to call it, work. And it's exciting. But there has to be a commitment from the company that I'm going to go work for that is invested in that, right? Some of them are dipping their toe in it. Some of them have been in it. Others are leading the pack.
Right.
It's a little bit of a mixed bag, but you have to kind of figure out what works, you know,
Yeah.
what works best
Yeah.
for you. So for me, it's very a focus on a specific kind of AV. A place where I can grow sounds kind of vague, but it's important as your career advances that you have the opportunity to go to the next level, right? I want to
Right.
be able to move up. I'm looking to come in at a director position and then to a VP and then I don't know, C level and beyond, right?
Right.
Who knows? Maybe I'll be the chairman of the board one
There you
day. I
go.
don't know. Ability to hire like-minded people, right? So it could be colleagues, former colleagues, people who I work well with, I gel well with. I think there's something to be said
Yeah.
about that. If you can all point back to these incredible projects that you've done in the past and things that you've been able to achieve together, I think companies nowadays are looking more at the bigger picture, right? Like, yes, we're going to have to maybe spend a $500,000 to be able to get three people, or you and two others to support you. But in the long run, it's going to get us to a financial gain that's much, much quicker,
Right.
right?
Right.
And because our experiential stuff is a little more specialized, there's people that do that kind of stuff and do it well.
Yeah.
So kind of think of like the package deal, but don't be afraid to ask for that. If you're looking for a job and you feel adamant that you have somebody who would be a great addition to the team or someone that you could recommend, I've been recommending people left and right just because they're good people
Right.
and the industry needs that. I mean, there is just, for whatever reason, a shortage of like really, really good, strong, hardworking people.
And not to interrupt you, but you are absolutely right. And that's why I also have such a passion trying to get youth into the AV industry, right? And because, yes, you hear it all of the time, it is older white males that's what this industry has been. And I'm not the first person to say it. I'm not the last person that's going to say it. We want more diversity and trying to get the youth in there, that's where I think we're going to be able to get some kids like what you're doing. If somebody really loves that and thinks it's cool, then they can partner and, bring them in as like an intern or an apprentice or a Padawan, however we want to call it, right? And help them and teach them so that there's more people that love a certain area, because the AV industry is so huge. Like, it's not like you said conference rooms, so your experiential design, and when you said projection mapping, for anybody that doesn't understand it, for anybody that's been to Disney, if you've seen the show at night on the castle, that is projection mapping. My son laughs at me because I walk around Disney and my head is on a swivel because I'm trying to figure out where all of the projectors are. I think I know where they all are now, but that's the cool stuff, right? So, understanding and being able to hire like that's amazing to say to a company, look, this is a goal of mine, right? This is what I'd love to be able to do, is get somebody, train them, and build a team. I think that's amazing. So that's awesome that you're asking for that, and that's on this list of yours.
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, good people are always in need,
Yeah.
and what I'm finding is when I say that to these different prospective employers, do you have a spot for someone who's a sales engineer, a design engineer, or a PM, or whatever that is? And they're like, no, but we'll make one for the right person. And like, that's the right thinking. Like, these companies that are willing to invest when they see an opportunity for someone who's top notch, like, why would you just let that person walk or go away and go join your competition when you have an opportunity right in front of you? So it's good, I guess. There's a lot of companies that are looking longer term, which is great. It's not just a short term knee jerk reaction. It's more of a, okay, let's think this through, and how does this benefit us then, in the future and going forward. So something to consider there. Number 9 was build something special, right? I've always been like, I love winning awards. I mean, who doesn't? They like their name in lights and accolades. I love stamping my name on the side of something. Once it's built, just makes you feel good, right? But it's building something special. It's just, coming up with that next award winning project, or the next, how do we push the envelope here where someone's not doing something, or can we create something just totally unique that's never been seen before? How do we do that? So that's what I wake up in the morning thinking about. And lastly, just to like kind of build on the place where I can grow, but I'd like to eventually run my own team. Like I said, I'm 41. I kind of feel like I'm in the prime time of my career where I need to be. This is a great opportunity to make money, right? And it's a great opportunity to do really, really cool stuff. But it's also a great opportunity to kind of set myself up for potential leadership positions in the future. Where as you get older, as you start to get into your 50s, I have it earmarked at 50. I don't know, maybe that's still young, I guess, in a lot of minds. Mine as well. But 50 years old could be a good time for me in my head. Like, okay, I've got 9 more years of really grinding hard. And then it's like, okay, maybe I can run a team then, right? I don't have to be knocking on doors. I can have people who do that for me, and I'm going to help them, train them on the skills and the skill sets and so forth that I have to help them become the next effective
Right.
salesperson, or, business development person.
No, that's amazing. So I think hopefully everybody, has jot those down. I know in my little notes I've been jotting them down here too, because I think they're great, and they're going to change, right? They're going to change for, somebody that doesn't do experiential. They're not going to have that on their list. So make it, for you guys that are listening, make your list pertain to what you're doing and what you want. So Brandon, I got one last question for you before we figure out, and not one that we've kind of talked about at all, but you're going to InfoComm. I'm assuming, because it's coming, and people may have already listened to this and it's already after InfoComm, but as you're there and you're talking to people, or even now as people are calling on you, and you're talking and you're looking, what is that one thing you want them to know about you as a person? Not so much around work or work ethic or whatever, but what is that one thing that you don't want, or they're not going to see on your LinkedIn, or even if you were sending your resume? What's that one thing you want them to know?
Well, then I'm just a real person. I try to be as genuine and caring and communicative and, enthusiastic and happy as can be, right? I mean, that's the marking of a good person. And people buy from people they like,
Yep.
right? Or they work with people like that they trust. They hire people like that because they can do all of those kinds of things. So my biggest thing is just be real.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want from people. I want honesty. Be real.
Yeah.
Don't feed me these lies and lines and whatever. I don't want it. I don't want to hear it. That's noise.
Yeah.
Be real with me. I'm going to be real with you. We're going to have, build something special together.
Right.
We're going to do something special together, whether you're a client or you're a collaborator or a partner or a manufacturer or a vendor, whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
Let's do something cool. There's plenty of opportunity out there for us, readily available.
Yeah.
I'm going to InfoComm. It'll be great to see everyone
Yeah.
there. I'm packing my sneakers. We're going to knock
Everybody
it
better
out of
be
the park.
packing their sneakers.
You won't let them live it down.
I
I know you
won't.
won't.
Something. They better have something. Well, thank you so much for joining me and talking about your experience. And, yes, it is a hard time, but there's always new things that we are learning where we're trying to find our jobs. So how can people get a hold of you if they're looking to hire you, if they have some questions, if somebody says, I want to know what he's doing cool, how can people find you?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I'm easily findable on LinkedIn. It's just Brandon Harp, and you can find me on there if you don't already know me. Happy to have a chat with anybody, or if I can give you a little bit of guidance or something that'll help you or make an introduction for you. I'm happy to do that. I think the outpouring of support and people who have been, even people that I don't really know, just, passing my name and my contact info along to people that they know in the industry, and then having, these different, people calling me and just saying, "Hey, I've gotten 8 calls about you. Like, who are you?
Yeah.
What do I need to do to hire you?" Is like, it's a testament to what I've been able to achieve, but I think it's very doable for anybody, right? Utilize your network.
Yeah.
Get out there, help each other. Let's help
Yeah.
each other find that next job, because it's there. Just like you and I have been
Yeah.
doing, Jennifer. We've been bouncing stuff off each other, and
Yeah.
here's a lead on this, or here's somebody who could maybe be a great fit for you here. And that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Stop just hitting the
The
send
send.
button on LinkedIn. Use LinkedIn for what it's for. Create your brand, go out there, sell it to people. You'll get the next job. You'll find the one that you like. You'll
Yeah.
be happy at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
life is good.
Life is good. Well, thank you so much. And I think as everybody was listening, uh, uh, part of this for me is we are all more than words on a resume. So thank you, and thank you for listening.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AVNation.